Other than those couple of weeks in January, winter has been pretty lame across the country. What's going on, guys? Certified meteorologist Jonathan Keg is back with you to talk about the pattern changing for the better if you're a snow and winter lover. Before we get into this video, if you do want to stay updated on the rest of winter and then storm season to follow, you have to hit subscribe. Please do that. And if you happen to find value in this content, I would love it if you hit that thumbs up. It really does help us out a lot. Here we go. In the short term, the warmth continues to surge in the east. Big chunk of high pressure hanging out over Cuba. And what that is doing, it's keeping the entire southeast corner and then really drifting into parts of the mid-Atlantic and northeast. It's allowing that unseasonable warmth. Where we do have a little bit of cooler air is into the west and parts of the upper Midwest. It is still above where we should be for this time of the year. Again, the first week of February. There are signs, though, that we are going to see a big time change, though, starting early next week, but then really as we get into that third week of February, kind of maybe winter's last gasp here, as we see cold really start to surge back down. You can kind of see this pattern start to shift just a little bit as we move 10 days from now. This big pocket of cold air in the upper levels of our atmosphere starts to build over the Canadian Maritimes, over the northeast corner of the United States. And what's going to happen is this is going to pinwheel back down the eastern two-thirds of the country due to a ridge building right here, and that's going to help to allow some of that cold to spill down. So that's going to be as we get into the latter stages of next week. In the short term, I want to talk about the opportunity for some snow in the Northeast that has still been hard to come by again this season. Differing opinions here from the GFS and the Euro as typical. We're going to break down and take a look at which one's a little more plausible to happen. And then we're going to go a little more long range. And if you want to find something that's particular to what you're looking for, I have the time codes, the different model breakdowns in the description, so check that out. GFS, again, we are lining up here with this one kind of skirting off of the coast. Again, for those big northeast snowstorms, you want to keep these things hugging the 95 corridor, the low offshore, of course, but you want to keep this moving in that direction. You're going to notice when I hit the next stamp here, the timestamp, that it just kind of skirts on out. It leaves Boston alone. It leaves Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York alone too. And then that guy continues to head out into the North Atlantic. I'll show you the reason for that in just 1 second. But first, we're going to look at the European. Notice as we get into early Sunday, we have some snow right on down the spine of the Rockies into the panhandle of Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, into the foothills of the Rockies as well. That storm system then starts to build down here and then works its way back up the Appalachians. Now you're going to notice something different in the short term. We had that low kind of working across here and then back out with the GFS. Now we have that area of low pressure further inland. So while I do think that there's some snow potential still even in this warmer solution from the Euro, you're going to notice that warmth there taking a big bite out of that into places like New York City that on the GFS was basically all snow. Still the same kind of deal, though, with this is that we get this area of low pressure to kind of slide out, although a little bit closer to give us a little bit of snow in Boston. The point that I'm trying to make with this is that this does not look like it's going to be an absolutely cataclysmic northeast snowstorm. We're missing some blocking that we need over Greenland, and just the way that these pieces coming together. Now, it's still far way out. I think there's going to be a storm there. The details, though, still a little hazy this far out into the future, but I want to show you the upper level pattern because this tells the story. Couple of things here. This upper low, the southern piece. There's a northern piece and a southern piece that we oftentimes track with these big northeast snowstorms. Note how it's kind of elongated. There's a piece of it left over down into Texas and Louisiana. The northern piece is up here, and that's what's going to be guiding this north. In the European, these two don't really phase or come together, so we just have this, the westerlies kind of taking that upper low right on out through the Atlantic. The GFS offers a different solution. It does the similar thing, but for different reasons. We have a slightly stronger southern stream storm here, although there is a little piece left over. Maybe a sign that the GFS is starting to cave closer to the Euro solution. Here is the northern steering piece up here. You see they're a little bit closer. So we have the southern branch, the northern branch right there, and then that phase happens just a little bit faster, but not really fast enough to kind of lift it up into the rest of New England, like what we would typically see from one of the bigger northeast snowstorms. So In the short term, Tuesday into Wednesday of next week, I'm talking about the 13th, 14th, 15th time frame. We're going to be watching that for some of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast cities for some snow. Beyond that, though, the pattern stays conducive, and I want to show you another map. I'm going to bring up my other weather computer from Tropical Tidbits, and great resource, by the way, to look up weather models. What we have right here is the temperature anomaly, and I'm starting this on the 17th. The other map ended on the 17th and 18th. So as we go out towards the second or third week of February, this is now February 20th, there's not a ton of cold air, and we talked about that it would kind of focus east of the Mississippi. Notice where the warmth is. That means we have a ridge building out here, trough in the east, and that allows some of that colder air, again, that's hanging out kind of the Hudson Bay area, east of the Hudson Bay, to kind of push back down into, again, that eastern third or two-thirds of the country. Again, these are temperature anomalies, February 20th, 21st. All that blue represents where we have some of the chill hanging on, and taking you all the way to the 24th. That chill quickly erodes away. The point with this is that it does look like the jet stream becomes a little more active. It buckles a little more. It weakens and allows some colder air to come in to some degree on the on early next week, and then again likely to a bigger degree on the 20th, 21st area, where we get that active storm track as well. I'll kind of show you that again. Let me pull this back, and this is a perfect example here. The ridge in the west with the warmth surging in the west, trough in the east with the cold air kind of sinking down over the deep south and into Florida. Again, that's going to be Monday, February 19th, the morning. So in that 19th, 20th, 21st time frame, some cold coming into the east. That's also an active storm track. When you get that these storms to kind of form to the east of the Rockies, work their way back out over the Gulf of Mexico, and then work their way up the East Coast. So, long story short, if you still want winter to happen, there's going to be a shot over the next 2 weeks. Beyond then, we might close the window. Of course, in an El Nino year, we can have a very active March. That's something that we're going to watch for anyway. But we all know it, especially in this day and age, it's getting harder with snow in the Northeast, really almost everywhere. And as the sun angle starts to get higher in the sky in March, it becomes a little bit harder for snow to stick. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you found this content helpful, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to stay updated on the rest of winter, this active storm track that is coming back over the next 2 to 3 weeks, you've come to the right place. Hit that subscribe button, and we will catch you guys next time.